Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. Well, I don't see you, but you know what I mean. It is Thursday, 25th of March, and interesting times here. Hold on. First of all, thank you to everyone who took time to check out the first video. I do appreciate your feedback. I got a few nice messages from some people. I'll try to address any questions at some point soon, but I have to keep it brief today because it's going to be a busy day today. So, yeah, confusing times. We have had our lockdown extended. Not surprising, but the twist is that overnight, the day before yesterday, the leaders of all the regions of Germany were having a big meeting and trying to hammer out some kind of agreement on what a stricter lockdown looks like. As far as I can tell, not much really changed, except they decided that it would be smart to add an extra 2 days onto the Easter holidays. So we'd then have a 5-day lockdown where even the supermarkets were closed and the churches. And it seems this really pissed people off. So yesterday, Merkel got up on the TV and apologised profusely to everyone. I can't tell if it's because her party is propped up by, in many cases, the more religious among the German population, and the churches still have quite a bit of power here. So I don't know if it's that the church's objection was the problem for her or the everyday person's objection. But I know, like, my company were pissed off at the idea of an extra public holiday where they're losing money, and I know people were annoyed that the supermarkets would be completely overrun for 3 days while people hamster kauf, as we say here. Like a hamster stores food in its cheeks. It's when people go shopping and fill their house with tins and things that they don't need. So, now that's been reversed. So it's back to a 3-day public holiday. But they still don't know really what to do. And they've put so much distrust into the AstraZeneca vaccine. And there's arguments about whether that's justified or political. I lean more into the idea that it's a political decision. There's a lot going on between Britain and the EU at the moment, and both are sort of taking petty shots at each other. And last night, an AstraZeneca factory in Italy was raided by the police because the police in Europe falsely decided that AstraZeneca were funneling vaccines to the UK from EU factories. It's not true. They raided the building anyway, found nothing, but it just wasn't true. And it seems odd that they allow women to take the contraceptive pill, which has a much, 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 much higher risk of causing blood clotting than the AstraZeneca vaccine does. So the whole thing seems really weird. And we're in the strange position now where Britain, I believe, is more than 50% vaccinated. Everything's going to be reopening. Germany's languishing around 7%, and we're not expecting anything to really open until winter. And even then, things like nightclubs and so on, it'll probably be next year before they will reopen. So, interesting times. Everyone's getting pretty tense and annoyed. I'm still kind of loving it. It still works okay for me. I'm doing my home office, sat on my sofa drinking coffee, working my way through Netflix. It's fine. It's fine. The thing that's bothering me is still not being able to travel. What else is going on? So, the Failcast podcast is back on Saturday. Now, my co-host is no longer dying of COVID. We are at Canada, and it might be the first track in a while where I don't just crash and embarrass myself, so that's a bonus. What else is going down? Let me think for a moment. Oh yeah, yeah. So I've been consuming documentaries like you wouldn't believe, just fucking endlessly. And I have to recommend one or two to you. They're on YouTube, so they're free. Um, Definitely, I would recommend to everyone to go and watch The Wickedest Man in the World. Um, it's a Channel 4 documentary from quite a few years ago, but it still holds up. And it's about Aleister Crowley, who founded the Abbey of Thelema, which is like black occult sex magic. I think the title is pretty fitting. He does seem to be pretty much the most evil man I've ever read about, learned about. It's strange, really, because a lot of people still kind of revere him today, and think he was onto something. And like part of his idea is that if everybody just does what they want to do, doesn't put up any pretenses or do things for the sake of harmony, if people just follow their own desires, then only good can ultimately come of it. I can't buy into that idea. And the people who did, they all got seriously fucked up. I mean, his abbey was this old cottage on Sicily, I think, or Sardinia in Italy. It's still there today. You can go. I mean, it's abandoned. The roof's collapsed, but people climb in there and look at the crazy paintings he did on the wall. But this is a guy who, multiple drug abuser, just some of the craziest stuff went on in this place. And I think it's worth watching, just even though it can be kind of depressing. I do often check out news sources that are less mainstream, by which I mean when you watch mainstream news, they will, for mass consumption, and it makes total sense, it's not a criticism, they will kind of use sort of soft terminology and they'll gloss over some details. So, they'll say there was, tribal conflict in Somalia or something. But you don't really know what that means. You just know it's, people fighting. Whereas there are others, more sort of independents, that have people on the ground that will show you what's happening. And it's often horrible and disturbing. And yeah, I'll be honest, it can ruin my mood for the day. But I think it's really important to accept the good and the bad in the world and to see what's really happening. Because, I saw some footage coming out of Brazil and Thailand, and I have friends who are constantly saying to me, oh, when lockdown's over, we should go to Thailand. It's totally put me off the idea of going to Thailand, I'll be honest. And it's crazy, it's like this big tourist hotspot, but then, some miles down the road, there's full-on guerrilla fighting and kidnapping and executions and so on. It's not a safe place in many areas. But still, you can get a cheap AirAsia flight there and party on the beach if you want. It seems kind of odd to me. And I just think forewarned is forearmed. And it's the same thing with this Crowley documentary. I think it's good to see the worst people can do because it helps you appreciate the best people can do. And for me, he's simply wrong. Life is a negotiation, I think. Yes, you've got to account for what you want to do, but the way I see it, you're in charge of your own actions, but you're not in charge of how people respond to your decisions and your actions. And so, yeah, it should be something that people bear in mind. Quite often these days I see people do things, they get criticised for it, and then it's wrapped into this very real idea of victim blaming that's often used, for sort of sexual violence against women. Of course, sexual violence against a woman is never a woman's fault. But if you, I don't know, film yourself going out and kicking a homeless person, that's not the same thing. It kind of boggles my mind a little bit. Like, yes, you're free to do whatever you want, pretty much within the bounds of the law, but you don't get to decide how people interpret it. And I see it a lot as well. On Reddit, I'm on some of these subreddits for interpersonal relationship advice. just 'cause I think there's always ways to learn to deal with people better. And there's so many people who are like, I read one the other day from a woman who, she had trouble with a boyfriend because she'd had 70 something sexual partners and he was struggling to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not fair, but you made your decisions and other people can make their own decisions about how they interpret your choices. You don't get to do what you want all the time and have everybody be 100% okay with it. That's just never been how the world works. And I just said, look, if you enjoyed yourself and you feel fine, then what does it matter? It's just the wrong person for you. Somewhere, presumably, there's going to be someone who can deal with it. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think most men could, because we are, quite honestly, pathetic, ego-driven creatures. But, also, the thing is, if you display a pattern of behaviour that's kind of impulsive and hedonistic, what guarantee does a partner have that that's just not who you are? Like she said, I want to settle down, but what evidence have you provided? None. I mean, at least, I said bonus points for being honest about it, but you're going to have to accept that a lot of guys are just not going to be okay with that. It's just not the way the world works. It's not fair. I'm not saying it's fair, but it is what it is. It's like there's things in everybody's past I think we're embarrassed of, but if you try and make your decisions with your future self in mind, not putting aside other people's opinions for a moment, think about how your actions to an extent form other people's opinions and how that might hinder you in pursuing happiness in the future. And you kind of find a way to negotiate as part of society. You suppress some things that maybe you want to do, because there's a price, there's a trade-off, and it's still a free choice. You're still exercising freedom. You're just choosing to exercise restraint, and I think that's oftentimes quite wise. So the Crowley's whole philosophy just seems kind of alien to me, and it makes the documentary absolutely fascinating to watch. So make yourself a coffee or a cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever, and sit and watch it. It's really, really good. Likewise, The Secret Life of L. Ron Hubbard, the guy who founded Scientology. That's another documentary that's up on YouTube, and I would definitely recommend that as well, because he's another guy who is a master manipulator and completely unhinged. Definitely worth your time. So, what else is going on? So, yeah, we're a week away from Easter now. Hard to make plans, really. The restrictions in Germany, as we touched on at the start, are still kind of weird. So the rule is you can meet in a maximum group of 5 from 2 households. But this is what I don't understand, right? Because if me having a dinner party with 3 friends from 3 different households is illegal because it risks spreading the virus, and these are 3 people I know, so presumably, we know the measures everyone's taking to stay safe. We know that, they're being hygienic, that, they always wear their mask or whatever. That's illegal, but I can, in the morning, get on a train with 70 complete strangers for half an hour and then walk to an office and sit in an office with 40 people for 8 to 10 hours. And that's fine. Encouraging home office, which is what they do, doesn't mean anything. I mean, my company's really cool. They don't want us to go to the office, really. They keep the office open for special circumstances, but by no means are we encouraged to go in. They were quick to send us home. They have no interest in calling us back. I couldn't be happier with their attitude, really. But I've got friends whose bosses just want to be over their shoulder, and they're like, no, come in. if you made home office mandatory for anyone who can do it, that's like thousands and thousands and thousands, potentially even millions of interactions that you cut out straight away. And then maybe people could have a dinner party, you know? It seems odd that they'll let us risk our health for work, sorry, all the fucking time, but not to share a meal and a glass of wine. It seems kind of odd. And after, we've been in this lockdown since November, but we've been in lockdown for over a year now, in some form or other. It just seems kind of stupid to me. And by no means am I saying we don't need to take sensible measures. It's just, it doesn't strike me as a sensible measure. I don't know why they think it's safer to interact with a much larger group of total strangers than it is to interact with your own family. It puzzles me. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. Bit of an unusual update this time, less personal, more general, but not a lot's gone on, to be honest with you, and I just wanted to make a video so I keep in the habit. I hope all of you are staying very well. Please do have the best end to the week you can and a great weekend, and I'll see you next week, and I will go through what's going on a bit more personally, and we'll go through sort of comments, feedback, and questions, so we have a bit of interaction. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.